I thought this would be a really good post to make a video about because recently there's been a lot of people rooting for Pokemon to print everything into the ground. And a lot of these people that are saying these things, they fail to realize why this is a bad thing, and this person is no different. So I wanted to read this post, give my thoughts, and talk about why you don't actually want this to happen. And you got to realize the people that are saying these things, like they want everything to be printed into the absolute ground, to screw the scalpers, make everything worthless. A lot of these people, just that saying that statement alone, it shows, their personality. A lot of these people that want things to get printed into the absolute ground and everything be cheap, they're greedy. Think about it. They want everything to be worthless just for them to be able to buy cheap product. They only want it for them. They don't care about the businesses. They don't care about the Pokemon brand itself. They don't care about any of that. So when I read this post, I'm going to talk about and, go over why, this person's thinking with, them wanting to get everything printed into the ground is totally wrong. So here's the title. I fail to see how it is bad for the Pokemon Company to print a set to bleep. Especially after knowing it is the greedy distributors that is controlling the prices and availability of products. The Pokemon Company will still make money regardless if they only sell to distributors. Low print count means the distributors have more room to negotiate with LGS or other vendors due to the limited stock, or distributors simply playing favorites, resulting in big box stores getting less and less products. So it is true that obviously they can negotiate more with like card stores, game stores, because there is a limited amount of products. So they increase the prices to stores, which obviously I've talked about many times before. Why prices won't actually absolutely crash in markets like these, because they'll just upcharge these stores because there is a limited amount of product. Now this other part is not 100% true. Like distributors, okay. From what I've heard, right, I don't have a distributor myself, but how it works is based on how much a store spends with a distributor, how long they've been with a distributor. That's kind of how their allocations works and how much they get. So the favorites thing, I mean, it's based on how much they spend. So I guess, is that plain favorites? I think that's just how the industry works. But this whole thing about big box stores getting less and less products, I don't think that's true at all. But that's just all speculation. So this whole part with big box stores getting less and less, I don't think that's true, and this person just made that up. The only people that will be affected are the so-called investors, or people that only care about the value of cards. Now this is not true. An investor, right? The term now doesn't even hold any water anymore, especially in this whole space. But an investor wants to buy low and sell high. So if anything, the investors, right, the real investors, they want cheap product, right? Relatively cheap product, to be able to invest into, buy at a low, cost, and then when it goes out of print in 2 to 3 years, it goes up. So it's actually not right calling, or people like investors out for saying that these are the people that are only affected. People that are invested, they want cheap stuff. They want to buy the stuff to, to get, at wholesale price like it used to be, and then later in a few years, see the gains. Like those are the investors. The people you're referring to are the people that just came into the space just recently, the scalpers. Those are the people you're referring to. Now I know the whole words investor now just means scalper or whatever, but those are the people you're actually referring to, the scalpers. Let's face it, the term just buy singles is no longer valid when cards are in the $300 to $1K range. So I can understand there are some cards that are expensive. But think about this. Are there more cards worth under $300? Or are there more cards worth over $300 out of all the sets? There are way more cards worth under $300, even under $100 in modern cards than cards that are in this range you're speaking of. You're speaking about maybe 30 cards in this whole, Scarlet and Violet era. The majority of cards are above or below $100. Majority of cards are below $10, $20, $30. A lot of illustration rares, $20, $30. Some of them even a few bucks. So the whole, thing here is saying with, cards are $300 to $1,000 plus range. You're cherry picking. You're trying to make it seem worse than it is, obviously, because you're upset about everything. But the reality is most of the cards, yeah, they have gone up. Cards generally now maybe are more expensive than they used to be, sure, but they're not the majority of cards are this range. The cards that are in this range are either are hard to pull, and they're sought after. They have a lot of demand, so that's why they're that expensive. So you're gonna nitpick a few cards and get mad. That don't make a lot of sense to me. There's plenty of cards that are under $100. Plenty of cards. Plenty of illustration rares, even SARs. Like there's SARs I think in Obsidian Flames are like a few bucks. So I don't think that's true. A master set used to be less than $2,000 at the extreme. Popular sets like Cosmic Eclipse or Evolving Skies, but Prismatic Evolutions itself will cost up to $7,000 in today's market price if you only buy singles. So okay, you're nitpicking one set, Prismatic Evolutions. You're nitpicking a set that has 32 SIRs, that has all the evolutions and other cards, that has Master Balls, that has Pokeballs, that has God Packs, Demigod Packs, that's a specialty set. You see how you're nitpicking here? If you take the mass majority of, the cards in Scarlet and Violet in the sets, they're not $7,000. I think the next most expensive one might be, I think Surging Sparks. Is it 151? I think it's around like anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 is like the next most expensive total set value in Scarlet and Violet. It's just Prismatic Evolutions. That's crazy. That's like 8K total set value right now. It's just that one set. A lot of the other sets, even 151. I mean, I think the Charizard might be almost $300, but everything else I think is under 100. So this whole thing with you trying to say that cards are way too expensive now and you can't even say that you just buy singles. Some of them have gone up, yeah, but not everything is hundreds of dollars. Not everything. There's a few cards that are, but the majority of the cards, like I said, they're under $100. So I don't think there's room to complain there. Obviously, depending on your budget and stuff, maybe even cards that are $100, maybe it is too expensive. But this whole thing you're saying here, you're just nitpicking and cherry picking. So let's just read this comment because it basically just sums up what I have to say here. I basically just got to read the comment myself. It'll explain why this whole printing to the ground is bad. So I'm just gonna read this comment and I guess give my insights on it. But this person here pretty much just says what I want to say here, and it's very surprising that the top comment here is actually being realistic because this is from the Pokemon TCG subreddit. And if you guys don't know, this subreddit is very biased. They want everything to be cheap. They want everything to be printed to the ground. That's most of the people that are on the subreddit. But surprisingly, the top comment here is actually being pretty realistic. You probably don't know that Pokemon was really bad for a lot of LCSs in 2023 and most of 2024, with product having to be sold at wholesale costs or broken down to break even or take slight losses since they need the revenue to pay for the next invoice. When booster boxes are selling for $90 online, ETBs $30 to $35, they have zero margin. On top of that, stores order a lot of product that is, I think this means dead on arrival, build-in battles, battle academies, collection boxes, etc., that they break down for packs. So this is a major thing why you don't understand why this is a bad thing for them to print into the ground. Because there's card stores. And I know everybody now hates card stores for being scalpers. But you gotta take a step back and go back a year, 2 years ago. You were probably not here. Whoever made this post, you were probably not here. Because you would understand why it's a bad thing for Pokemon to print everything in the ground. Because these stores that sell at market price, because now they're scalpers, but back then they sold at market price under MSRP. A lot of these stores back then, they were not making a single dollar. A lot of these stores, you take into consideration overhead costs and all those sort of things, these stores were not making any money. When booster boxes online, at one point, yes, Scarlet and Violet booster boxes, Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolve, Scarlet and Violet base, they were $80 to $90 a year and a half ago. And the reason why I know that is because I was there for that. I bought some at that price. And, when online, you go on eBay, there are sellers selling for $80. These local card stores, they have to be somewhat competitive, right? That's why they do market price, which now they're scalpers for. But, they would sell, some of these stores would sell it close to market and literally lose money. But some of these other places, some of these other card stores, they would sell for maybe a booster box, maybe $100, $120. And, I bet you a lot of these people that are complaining and calling these stores scalpers for charging over MSRP, I bet you when they, back then, if they were here, when those boxes were $90 online, I bet you if their local card stores was selling them for 120, 130 bucks, because I remember going to my local card store, they were selling booster boxes for like 140. They would probably not support their local card store and, you know, whatever. They'd probably just buy online because they just want what's in their best interest, which is buying the cheapest they can. So all these people now that are saying, you know, all like MSRP and everything, you were not there to support your local card store when they were selling for even under MSRP because of market price. So that's where a big disconnect is with a lot of these people saying MSRP now, is because I know back then when boxes were 90 bucks, when local card stores were having to sell at 120, 130, 140 to make a margin to be able to, you know, stay alive in the business when market price was like wholesale cost, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys were not supporting them. Let's be honest here. I don't think a lot of you guys would be like, hey, you know, this local card store is selling for 140. Online, I can go on eBay and buy for 80 bucks. I know most of you out there were probably buying for $80 online. I mean, I'm not blaming you, but you can't go out here and get mad now for local card stores for charging market price when some of them have always done that. But also all these places, when market price was, you know, under MSRP, they were still charging under MSRP. They weren't scalping, but they were charging above market price. So I think a lot of people don't understand these stores gotta make money. So if you weren't here a year and a half ago when things were like dirt cheap as much as wholesale, like you want to understand, because these stores got to make money. And I know now these stores, they are making money, but they're not getting as much product as they used to get. But people don't understand that, you know, it sucks because a lot of people don't understand, but this is a business. These stores got to make money. It's not everything is just cheap. Oh, I want everything cheaper for myself and I don't care what happens to the other people. These stores can't make money selling when things get printed into the ground because market price drops and sometimes it goes to wholesale price. And then what can they do? They got to stay competitive. They got to sell for somewhat competitive prices, and therefore they really can't make much money. So let's just keep reading. Overprinting ruined MTG Magic the Gathering back when they were doing Amazon dumps, and stores were getting screwed left and right, with having to close shop. Obviously, right now Pokemon is way underprinted compared to demand. So yeah, that's true. Pokemon is obviously they're not printing to demand because there is way more demand than what's being printed. The magic formula is to print exactly enough to meet demand and have shelves full, but not too much where the product starts to get dumped. Hitting that magic number is pretty much impossible since there is a lot of guesswork and these print runs are scheduled months in advance, but Pokemon has been pretty good balancing it historically. So yes, I think people have this, you know, or just don't understand that, you know, the amount of demand that has come to Pokemon has been pretty instantaneous. Pokemon hasn't been able to adjust for this demand. And people don't understand that Pokemon can't just print overnight all this product. Like, it takes time. So it will probably get to a point where they will print more, but at least in the you know the next few months, like I've been saying, it's like this whole supply that people are dreaming of like printing into the ground and stuff that people are praying is gonna happen, and for the next few months, it's probably not gonna happen. So last thing here, Prismatic is its own animal. They can overprint this to bleep and it'll still do well regardless, just like what they did with Charizard UPCs when Target had pyramid size stacks of the stuff. So this is probably the smartest comment I've ever read from the subreddit post, because they pretty much got everything right here. I do agree, and you know, this is where I still stand with saying Prismatic Evolutions will never get to MSRP. They can print it into the ground and it'll still do well. It's just true. I mean, you look at Crown Zenith, which is an amazing set, but when you look at Prismatic, I know you could say Crown Zenith is a better set because it's more fun to open or whatever. The artworks are cleaner. You can have that opinion, but Prismatic, having what it has with all the things going for it, obviously evolutions, all these SARs, God packs, and Master Balls, all these things, it doesn't matter. It will do well in the long term. And honestly, I feel like looking at 151 and how much they've really printed of 151, I feel like people don't acknowledge that. 151 there's been a lot of restock from a lot of retail stores. In the price, if you look at the graph for 151 products, you know, especially Elite Trainer boxes, it's always gone up. Booster bundles, there's been ups and downs because those are the main products that have gotten restocked. But even those are like, what, over 70 bucks now? Like, people don't understand that this whole printing to the ground thing, especially for some of these sets, it doesn't really matter. But this whole thing with the print in the ground thing, like people don't understand why it's bad. It's not good for the brand. It's not good for the stores. The only people it's good for are people that are greedy and just want cheap product for themselves. But for a collectible to succeed like Pokemon, you can't have things printed into the ground. You can't have all these sets be extremely cheap because guess what? Pokemon will not make any money. They're making a lot of money right now. Maybe they should print more. I could agree with that. But I think like I've talked about it before, Pokemon kind of likes what's happening right now. Their name is being posted everywhere. People want their product. People are buying directly from Pokemon Center. People now are buying MSRP or above. People care about value, and I think that's what Pokemon wants. Pokemon doesn't want their stuff to be worthless because who's gonna buy the stuff when it's worthless? The people that are saying print to the ground would say like, yeah, I'll buy everything. But were you here when Scarlet and Violet first started? Do you want it to be like back then? Obviously, if you're just a casual collector and you don't care about value, sure, maybe you do want that. But it's human psychology. You want something more when other people want it. That's just how things work. That's how this collectible space works. That's why we have all these people coming in now. Because you want stuff when things get popular. That's how things work. That's human psychology, but people don't understand that. Why were you not here if you really care about MSRP and stuff? Why were you not buying all this product when things were super cheap? Why wait until now when things are this price? A lot of people got here because things just got popular and hyped up. That's just how it is. So let's just read a few more comments here because this person basically just summed up everything I wanted to say. Okay, there's a few comments I wanted to read here, and some of these are just whatever. So okay, this is what I'm trying to say here. Pokemon wants their products to be worth something. People love it when they open packs and get a $500 card. They print too much and no one will want it since it's worthless. It is true. I mean, who is going to open up, product if the most expensive card is like $20? No one. No one is going to want to do that. So let's read a couple, comments here. When sets are readily available, yawn, meh, set, let it sit, I don't care. When sets aren't available, I need it now. Why don't they just overprint it to devalue the product so then I can buy it? That is literally the mindset of these people summed up. If you are really here, in the beginning of Scarlet and Violet, for example, like Paldea Evolved, because that booster box now is what, like $240? If you remember when it was $90 and you see how it is now, you probably shouldn't be complaining. Because you were able to get it for so cheap. But if you waited until now for it to get expensive, it's like, how can you complain? Right? Now you want it because it's expensive, right? Now you complain. But when it was cheap, you didn't care to buy it, right? No one wanted any of this when it was $90 a booster box. Exactly. All these people complaining when things are super cheap, they don't want it because, like I said, it's human psychology. You want something more when other people want it. That's just how things work. That's how collectibles works. That's how this whole industry works. But people don't understand these simple concepts, and that's why people have these thought processes and say these certain things. Would you think the same way if they print enough for everyone to have 1,000 boosters? Yes, rarity and value shouldn't matter so much. That is why the hobby is where it's at. Seems like many lost sight of the game is what the game is even about. I couldn't care less if a rare card became more attainable because I'm in the hobby for my own reasons, not to make money or flex on people. That is lame. So this is like the type of people that are in this whole, space, or in this whole, I guess, subreddit. This exact person. Rarity and value shouldn't matter much. The person that wants everything to be worth pennies. That is why this hobby is where it's at. Everyone just cares about value. It's like an evil thing, right? To care for a collectible to be worth something and talk about value. It's an evil thing in this space, apparently. So that's all I have to talk about with this post. How just a lot of people don't understand why this is bad. People don't understand brand name. People don't understand how collectibles works. It runs on scarcity. People don't understand business has got to make money. If you still, at the end of this video, if you watch all the way to the end, if you still at this point don't understand, I don't even know what to say. That is why when there's people online, even out sometimes on my channel, and complain about prices and how I'm an evil scalper and stuff, I sort of just laugh because I mean, so much of the stuff I feel like should be common sense, and you should kind of think like critically and understand how this stuff works and why it's a bad thing, but people still will never understand because they are just greedy and want cheap product for themselves. So that's all I have to say here. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you've watched all the way to the end of this video, comment down below. Pokemon don't print into the ground or something like that. So let's end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.